Hello, it's Thursday night. Welcome to Call of the Wild Outdoors live show where we will talk about fishing, hunting, boating, and of course, I got a fishing report for us, which I'll put up in a few minutes. Um, we hit the 100 subscriber mark. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate that. Um, it's been a long time doing the show. So, hope everybody's had a good week. Weather up here has been pretty crappy. We've had too much wind. Saturday, the surface temp was between 68, 72 degrees, depending on where you were at. I went out Tuesday after work for a little while. Hi, Mark. How you doing? And water temperature in close was 47 at the surface and 55 out where I was fishing most of the day Saturday. So, and I pulled my downrigger balls up. They were just ice cold. So we have some cold water in here. The fish are here. Hi, Pat. Um, the problem is they're not biting till after dark because they're up in that top 10, 12 feet of water. The guys are out there on controlling one color lead core. Downriggers ain't working where the darn in the shallower water. And with the fish up so high, the boats are just scaring the heck out of them. Hi, Paul. How you doing? So you really got to be trolling the lead core or the dipsies out to the side of the boat. Um, we had some horrible winds in last night, and most of the day today there was 9-footers out there. They were calling for up to 11-footers. It's still going to go on through the night, but it is supposed to calm down a little bit tomorrow. It looks like we lost the feed. What's going on here? Can everybody hear me? Okay. Hi, Caden. Okay. Yeah, Mark. It should be good. You definitely want to get out before light in the mornings and stay until after dark in the evenings. The water, I don't know what this wind's going to do. It could push some warm water in. The lake could flip again. Um, but I'm going to tell you, be real careful going in and out of Frankfurt Harbor. There is a lot of idiots out there. I seen guys trying to troll on paddle boards. There's people in rubber rafts. They're not turning their lights on. You go by the people that do have lights, and they've got kids' sand pail buckets over the lights because they don't want the glare. And you tell them it's for other boats to see them, and they should know where they're driving. No, that's going to get you killed. There was one guy out there. He had about a 16-foot aluminum boat, and his light was actually below his splash well. The only reason I could see it is I happened to be up on my bridge at the time. This was still daylight. And looking down on him, because he come over real close next to me, I could see the light there. I'm like, dude, make yourself bright. You want to make yourself seen. You're not giving up a fishing spot. There's 200 boats fishing within a half a mile of you. They know where the fish are at. Be safe. Don't be stupid. Get them lights on. And the Coast Guard was doing nothing about it. I mean, there was a guy sitting right in the channel, right straight across from the Coast Guard station when I got in. Hi, Mary Beth. And, yep, kayaks. Yep, they're out there. They didn't say nothing to him. And it was just about dark when I rolled through there. Because I came in a little bit early myself because there was just so many boats right there at the entrance to the harbor. I didn't want to fight. I wasn't in the mood to fight with boats to try and get in. And I could see when I wormed my way through them, and that was hard enough. And I would say 1 out of 9 boats after sunset had their lights on. That's not a very good average. So If you're going out there, just be careful. There's a lot of yo-yos out there that have no clue what the laws are. They have no respect for other boats out there. They'll be trolling and they'll be heading right toward you, and to broadside you or T-bone you, and you kind of yell at them and they're like, "I'm on GPS." Well, GPS don't mean you can drive through boats bigger than you, buddy. So just be aware of your surroundings out there. There's just, like I said, people that have no clue what they're doing. They just want to catch fish. One of the guys in the rubber raft was actually laying down in the boat so you couldn't see his head. I mean, just making it so invisible. It was ridiculous. All right, we'll get on with the fishing report. It's not a really good one this week. South Haven, the fishing's actually been pretty good down there, catching salmon, trout, and they're getting some perch now finally. The salmon and trout, they've been working the 75 to 120 feet of water. They're using flies and meat rigs mostly, and they're running them 30 to 50 down. Your colors are your greens, whites, glows, and some UV blues. And then perch are being caught in 30 feet of water. Pier action's still just a smidgen slow, but that could start up anytime, especially with the winds we've been getting. Now, the winds that we've been getting, that's just all up and down the Lake Michigan shoreline, and the reports I'm getting, Lake Huron was getting hammered as well. A lot of guys did not get out this week. They just couldn't. So keep that in mind. Water temperatures have changed. Some of these fishing reports are a few days old. Nobody I know went out last night out of Frankfort, Manistee, Ludington, Leland. Nobody wanted to fight the 6 to 9 foot waves they were calling for, with near gale force gusts expected. Okay, St. Joe, fishing has been decent when they can get out. The weather's been rough. Salmon have been caught in 80 feet of water, 50 feet down. And again, in St. Joe, a few perch around 35 feet of water. They're going south of the piers for those. And again, it's been rough. So, Grand Haven, they're reporting good catches of salmon in 70 to 160 feet of water, 40 to 100 feet down. Fish are scattered, though. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to them. So you may pick up one here, and a quarter mile away you may pick up 2 or 3, and then another mile you might get one. So that they're just scattered. You just got to find them. And I'm going to assume, with the reports that I've gotten from that area, scattered means that the depths are going to be pretty scattered as well. They're using glow spoons down there. That seems to be the hot ticket. Plugs are coming up a close second, and early mornings, late evenings are your best bet. Again, that's up the entire Lake Michigan shoreline and in a lot of areas on Lake Huron as well. Muskegon, they're getting salmon in 50 to 120 feet of water, 30 to 80 feet down. Glow plugs, glow spoons are working the best, and they're getting a good mix of kings and cohos. Got no reports of anybody getting any lake trout or anything like that. So, Pentwater. Pentwater, a few fish are being taken out in 100 feet of water, 45 down, and that's when they can get out on the water. Pentwater's probably been getting hammered real bad by these winds just because of the little point that they're on. They're kind of like Frankfort. Just about anything but coming out of the east just smashes them. But they're using greens and blues in the spoons, and glows greens and blues with the flies. The best rotator out there is the Beckler, or as some of us old timers know it as, the Hoochie Mama, in the white with crush or the glow. Ludington, last weekend was pretty decent fishing, but the winds brought in some cold water, and this story runs up, like I said, the whole lakeshore. A few fish are in the Pere Marquette Lake, but the bite is slow. Glow spoons, plugs, and flies trolled early morning before light, and late evenings are the best and most productive times. Point Sable, they're fishing 200 feet out to 200 feet of water, anywhere from 25 to 75 down. Them fish are just all over the water column. Manistee, I've gotten so many mixed reports about it. I've had guys tell me forget it, there's no fish there, and then I've had other ones tell me that it's pretty good. So I'm gonna give it the report I got on it based on an average. They're fishing straight out to 200 feet of water, running 10 core lead lines with spoons. They're running dipsies with flies in greens, blues, and glows. The cold water came in Monday night, so I would be trying the top 40 feet of water, and water's less than 200 feet. So if you're just going out and just trolling around for the fish that are trying to stage, I would be running 27, 28 feet down. That seems to be a good place to be when the water's at that temperature. And again, it's early mornings and late evenings. Let's see, Onekama. Guys are getting fish. They're straight out in 80 to 100 feet of water. If I remember right, out of Onekama, that isn't all that far out. 35 to 45 feet down, flies and spoons. Plugs should probably be working this week if you can get out there. The water's really cooled off, so the fish are now high up. Frankfort. Alright. The lake is flipped. Surface water temperatures were 68 to 72 Saturday. Tuesday they were 47 to 54. The guys are getting fish when they can get out, but generally it's all happening right at dark till a half hour after light, or after dark, excuse me, or in the AM until it gets light. Once it gets light, it's like a switch is flipped off and the fish are just nowhere to be seen. You won't see them on the graph. I seen more fish looking out my window Tuesday night. The kings, they like to think they're sharks, and they put that dorsal fin up in the water and coasting through. And I seen probably 50 of them in the short time I was out. I had a little problem with my boat, so I didn't get out and get lines wet until about 7. And like I said, I went in before dark. I didn't want to play with all that traffic. The fish are there. The boats are scaring them. They're real high up. So definitely want to be running planer boards off to the side, dipsies off to the side. That's the best thing I can tell you there. Let's see, the Tuesday. I got lost here, so. Okay, the colors, greens, blues, glows are working real good. I did good on chrome and silver J plug, 3-inch J plug Saturday. We got a nice steelhead and lost a couple salmon on it. So, and then I got another salmon on a tan with a green and glow ladder back on the back. I'm sorry guys, I don't know the names of most of these spoons, so you just have to bear with me. I just try to give you colors and you can go from there with it. Every company seems to name it their own thing, and I just go by colors. So I'm not one to hear, oh, they're catching it on a blue dolphin and try and find every blue dolphin I can find. No, I look and see what a blue dolphin looks like. I try to match a color. That's what I go with. It does not have to be the blue dolphin. Colors do make a difference some days they don't. Like I said, there's guys running around out of Frankfort and just around the pier heads and rubber rafts, paddle boards, etc. They're not turning on lights, so use extreme caution in the area. I actually put that in my report. Okay, Leland. Little action out to 200 feet of water, early mornings and late evenings, fishing deep, 90 plus down. So you're going to be running your cannonballs, you're going to be running your deep dipsies, glows, and oranges seem to be the ticket there. Okay, Charlevoix, guys fishing 60 to 120 feet of water. We're having success on kings and cohos. Again, very early morning and very late evening. 35 to 80 down, glows and greens. Petoskey, fishing is hit or miss. Water temperatures are all over the place. They're fishing 120 feet of water, 50 to 75 feet down. with blues and glows. I got one report that let's see, the north shore of Little Traverse Bay is where the best action is. I got no report from Harbor Springs this week. Sorry. Presqu'Île. Lousy weather in that area kept most guys in. Those that did get out went to 75 to 150 feet of water, fishing varied depths to get success. Blues, glows, and whites in spoons, flies, and plugs. Atlantics were also biting watermelon colored spoons, so the kind of a off pink red with some greens in it. And they were also picking up a few bonus walleye in that 50, 100 to 100 feet of water, 20 to 35 down. The report I got is that's where you want to target the Atlantics as well, is the 20 to 35 down. The Kings are a little deeper. Rogers City, it's been the hottest place in the state the last couple of weeks. Well, it's turned for the worse there. Fish have slowed way down. They're biting very early AM, very late PM. In the morning, as soon as it gets light, they're done. In the evening, as soon as it gets dark, they're on. Now, there is a few guys picking up one here, one there, but they're really having to work for it. The fish are being lazy. They're graphing the fish. The fish are showing up on the graph. They are not touching anything that they're throwing at them. So, but they'll, once it's dark, spoons, plugs, flies, meat rigs, the fish are just being lazy and hesitant to bite as soon as it's daylight hours. I think we normally do go through this, and like I said, there's been some drastic water temperature changes, and that's definitely going to affect the fish. I mean, we dropped 20 plus degrees here in Frankfort in just a matter of 3 days. So Alpena, the only report I have says guys are catching a few fish if and when they can get out. So that's the report that I was given. Oscoda, not many guys are getting out. The few guys that are getting out are getting a few walleye and some steelhead. No salmon reported as of yet. But that fishery, that's one of those fisheries that, as of this report, and I printed it up, I got my last reports last night at 10 p.m. The fish could have come in last night, and they're catching them today if they can get out. They should be in there any day. I would be out trying it. Of course, you know, I don't mind going out and getting skunked. It doesn't happen very often, but I don't care as long as I get a good boat ride out of the deal. Tuesday, I got skunked. I did not catch a fish. I had one slam my fly, and that was it. And before I could even get back to the back of the boat, he was gone. So that is what it is. But I had a nice boat ride when we went out there. It was 4 to 6 foot waves. The nice thing about it is they were a little farther apart. They're probably pushing 4.5 seconds apart. So it was just a nice up and down boat ride, and it was laying down the longer I stayed out there. And by the end of the evening, maybe 1-footers. And like I said, I called it quits early. I didn't want to fight the boat traffic. I mean, I never since I've been fishing the Frankfort area since 1993, 95, I've never seen that kind of boat traffic at the mouth of the harbor. It was just plain nuts. I ran right out to 120 feet of water. I found some fish. I started fishing. And I had the area to myself. There was no other boats out there. They were all in close. I did eventually cruise into about 65 feet of water, and I started getting boats cutting off the main pack and coming out my way, but I wasn't getting any either, so they weren't. Okay, Taos. Walleye being caught in 60 to 65 feet of water, but it has slowed down a bit. Where last week they were getting limits. This week they're averaging 3 to 4 fish per angler. sometimes per boat. So they've definitely dropped off a little bit. Augury, a few walleye and perch, very hit or miss, 35 feet of water and deeper. Harnesses and crankbaits. The perch are getting them on minnows and crawlers. Little Bay Denot, good walleye fishing all around the bay. Harnesses, crankbaits, and jigs are the ticket. And it sounds like they've lit up in the bay now. So it's a good place to get. And I got a report from St. Ignace this week. I had 3 of my friends go up there, and they were in 2 different boats, and they did very well. Very mixed bag of kings and lake trout. They're getting a lot of suspended lake trout up there, but my one friend, he's like me, he really enjoys eating the lake trout or smoking them up, so he was targeting them as well. They're running lead core with greens, blues, and glows for the salmon. They're running 8 color, 10 color, all the way up to 14 color, but they said the 8 color was definitely hotter than the longer lines. And then the lake trout, he caught the most on spin and glows with a orange dodger and a silver dodger just off the bottom. He wasn't even touching the bottom with it, and he says they were the most aggressive lake trout he's ever gotten to fish. So I guess they're really smacking them baits for him. Lake Superior, I don't have any definitive reports. Everything's a little bit old, but the guys are getting out in most ports and catching fish. You got to watch the weather. They've been getting blown around up there too. It's been playing a huge role in keeping people in. A lot of guys have been fishing Munising Bay, and they're getting cohos and a very, very occasional king early in the morning and late evening, glows, greens, and blues. Detour, they were getting some Atlantics and some walleye. Pretty much anywhere in the St. Mary's River was reporting that. That's all I got for this week. It's been a cruddy week for people to get out, so I didn't get half as many reports as I normally get. I'm sorry about that, but the guys they don't want to chance it. They ain't gonna tear up their boats to go catch a couple of fish when they can just wait a few days, which is, I think, how we all feel about it. Saturday morning, that big steelhead I got, it's the biggest steelhead caught off my boat so far. Normally I catch them, 14, 16 inches, and he took a plug, and that's the first steelhead I've ever heard of biting a plug. So it was a first for me, and that was Saturday evening. We didn't get out Saturday morning, it was just too wavy. I took Bill, met him through Tangled Tackle channel, and I took him out Saturday. He's the one in the video. So, and we lost a little bit of tackle. I lost a planer board. Salmon kind of got into the line and wrapped it up and flipped it over, and a wave flipped it back, and when it did that, it come off the line and just floated away. And then first time ever had a salmon wrap up in the cable, and I told Bill to just hang tight, and because I couldn't net it. I slipped starting to get the net, and I'm not sure what happened. The rod got pulled, and the line sounded like a 22 going off, and the fish kind of drifted away. So, which, that happens. Yeah, Mark, radar ain't gonna pick up them rubber rafts that are that low to the water, unfortunately, unless you've got it aimed at a downward angle out in front of you. And then if you do, you're not going to pick them up, but at a given distance. It's nice for picking up them smaller boats, but that rubber raft, I don't think he sat more than 10 inches out of the water, and then he's laying down inside the boat to begin with. I mean, that was a rubber raft you'd throw in a pool for your kids. He's out fishing in it at the mouth of the harbor after dark. And then laying down in it to boot instead of sitting up. Now maybe he couldn't sit up because it would take on water. I don't really know. But to me it looked like he was trying to make himself as invisible as possible, and that's just a wrong thing to do when you got 30 and 40 foot boats running around and in 3 and 4 foot waves. Because he was out there when I went out there, so I knew he was there. You gotta visit Frankfurt. I mean, them people, safety is of no concern to them. The guy in the rubber raft didn't even have a life vest with him. I seen guys, like I said, trolling, paddling on a paddleboard. Again, no life vests. They're paddling around out by the pier heads. Just crazy. Hell, I'm in a 23-foot bridge boat with a 9.5-foot beam, and I'm not visible enough, in my opinion. I'm going to be getting strip lights for that thing. I want to be as visible as I can be. Nothing to be worse than getting run over out there. Especially when the water temperature in close was 47 degrees. That's a cold dip in the water. It's also been requested of me to move my live show to Wednesday night. So we'll take a vote on that. I guess some guys like Michigan out of doors, and I guess I'm airing at the same time they are. So they're catching my show on a replay, and they wondered if I could move it to Wednesday. So I'll leave that up to everybody. We'll take a little vote on it. Just leave a yay or nay in the comment section if Wednesday night's good for you guys. And it would be at the same time, 7:30. Nope, not long at all. And according to my graph, it got colder as it got down to the bottom. And judging by the way my cannonball felt, I believe it, because it felt like I grabbed a bag of ice cubes when I was putting it back in the holder. I ain't felt them cannonballs that cold since May, the first week of May. I did pick up another replacement planer board for the one I lost, so that I can try and get some long lines out. Wednesday works for you? Okay. As long as it works for everybody else, I know I can change it on the website as well, so it's not a problem. Wednesday works for me as well, so I just can't please everybody, but I can try. And then I posted 2 videos last night. One was supposed to be a short. Well, sure it does. Every vote matters. But the one with the shipwreck was supposed to be a short. It didn't post as a short, so I'm probably going to change that. I was going to post one later that has a lot more video of the shipwreck. I actually drive completely around it with my boat. And I get some video down in the water, the stuff that's left underwater. If you've never been up there and you think you might want to look at that shipwreck, I suggest you go. We've really lost a lot of it in the last 10 years. I would say at least half of it is gone, just vanished. It's rusting and everything else. There is some bow sections underneath the water. Now, I took this video the day I got towed in when I blew my fuel pump, which I'm going to post that video too. Again, I want to thank Rings Thing for coming out and towing me in. He definitely didn't have to take that much time out of his day to do that. He did me a great favor towing me in. And that's the only time this boat has left me stranded since I bought it. And the sad part is, if I would have had the fuel pump with me, it was a 10-minute job to change it. But that's my own fault. I didn't think to have one with me, and I should have. It was 50-year-old fuel pump or close to it. So I always carry tools with me on that boat. It's not like it breaks down easily, but it's a 1977 boat with almost 3,000 hours on it. Do I have what? A spare fuel pump? No. No, I don't have a spare fuel pump on board. However, I have a primer bulb now that I can hook up to my fuel line. I can keep the carburetor full. It'll be a pain, but I can do it and I can get in. I learned a lesson that day. And we got lucky. You know, I had my friend Mary Beth, who's in the channel sometimes. She's probably on her way to bed right now because she's got to sneak up on daylight to go to her job. But I had her on board and her daughter and took them up to the island. And on the way back, we broke down and we were in some 3.5 to 4 foot waves. And the boat started acting up, so I cut straight across Platte Bay. I didn't want to get inside the bay because of the big rocks in there, but I stayed in water that I could anchor in. I got out of that 100 foot of water as fast as possible and just headed for Point Betsy. And basically that's where we broke down at, was Point Betsy. That's where my boat finally said, nope, you're done. And we were in about 40 feet of water, anchor held like a charm, lake laid right down. And as Ring Sing was coming out to me, I mean, you want to talk about just luck. That lake laid flat. It was so calm when he pulled up next to me and grabbed my line. Oh, Mary Beth's still in the channel. Yeah. So they were bobbing out there, and me being a certified marine tech, you know how embarrassing it was for me to call the Coast Guard? That really sucked. But we were in no danger at that point, and if something would have happened to the boat, something stupid, good night, Mary Beth, where we would have had to bail, we were within swimming distance of shore. It would have been cold, but we were within swimming distance of shore. So the boat left me stranded, didn't make it all the way to port, but it didn't leave me in a dire situation. And again, I don't fault the boat for that at all. I've said for years that one of my bucket list trips is to go out to Isle Royale National Park. And the boat itself is big enough to do the job. And I could put a kicker motor on it to do the job. I would never go out to Isle Royale without a second engine. It just wouldn't happen, not in Lake Superior. And the thing is, a kicker motor, the best I'd probably be able to do if it got wavy is keep the bow into the waves and make no headway, maybe even get blown backwards a little bit. So that's why one of the reasons I got the bigger boat with the twins. The other thing with my Penn Yan is it's designed for fishing. Yes, it has a very small head on it, and it's got a couple cabinets in it, storage underneath the seats and underneath the V-bunk. But that being said, to go out for as long as I want to go out, and I want to go out for a 2 to 3 week trip, I would never be able to transport the needed supplies to do that trip on that boat. But the 28 foot slick craft, the 28.5 foot slick craft, absolutely no problem. Plus got a bigger holding tank, bigger bathroom. It's so much more storage. It's so much more boat, even though it's only technically 5.5 feet longer. It's so much more boat. It's crazy. Plus it has radar. But the twins are the key thing. Yeah, I might not be able to plane off on a single engine with that boat, but I'll get into shore with it. And that's my dream trip right now. I love island hopping. I love going up to South Manitou Island, North Manitou Island. I was going to hit some of the other islands north this year and just did not have the time. I have this thing with water temperature that I want it to be in the 60s before I start going to new areas. And we didn't get that until a month ago. The water out here was cold, and I think that's what's got the fish all screwed up on our side of the state in our area. So, um, but yeah, hopefully next year, the year or the summer after that, I'll be going up to Isle Royale. That's my dream trip right now. If you like these fishing reports and this talk, smash the like button. It really helps me get some more views and stuff, and helps the channel out. And maybe I can get some more subscribers. I am going to be trying to go live. I'm hoping to get out tomorrow night. It should be calm enough. I can take the PC out there and set it up with the webcam. Trying to go live on my phone, I can do it. I can finally go live on my cell phone. However, I don't have nothing to hold it, so I can't get no video, which is frustrating. I gotta make a holder for it. The one that I had for my car, it won't tolerate the waves. It keeps popping off with the weight of the phone on it. How you doing, squirrel? But like I said, I can put the laptop right on the table and aim the camera right out there, and we can go live. And hopefully we can smash some fish. Tomorrow night, if I go out, I get out of work at 5, so 5:30, 6 o'clock. Then Saturday's up in the air because it's supposed to get rough Saturday morning, and they really didn't have any reports for Saturday evening when I was on there for the hourly forecast. But if you're going to be fishing near Frankfort, just get yourself out to 50 feet of water and start trolling around. You'll find fish. Just keep in mind that they may not bite until dark. You know, a few guys were getting lucky and picking up a fish here, and I picked up a bite before dark, but that's all it was a bite. And it very easily could have been a coho taking a swat at my rotator. Because it just basically pulled off, pumped once or twice, and then just came up straight and flatlined. So if it wouldn't have pumped the 2 times, I would have thought maybe I just ran over one and kind of snagged it a little bit and it got off. But with the second pump, that usually indicates that it was bit somewhere. That's fine. I got out at 7 the other night, and basically the action isn't going to happen till about 9:15 to 9:30ish. So you'll have plenty of time to fish. Unless the water temperatures have changed, and we're still getting a wind out of the northwest, so I don't foresee the water doing anything but getting colder, unless it happened to flip again. But I wasn't detecting warmer water on the bottom except out in like 134 feet of water. Excuse me, 134 feet of water. There was fish running 10 feet above bottom, which I knew were salmon. My graph does a pretty good job of detecting lake trout, and they show up with a different color to them. And there was no bait fish down there. And usually when I graph lake trout that are suspended even 2 feet off the bottom, there's always bait fish with them. And there wasn't no bait fish down there with them. These fish were just sitting there. There was bait fish in anywhere from 3 feet of water down to 10 feet of water, just solid line of them the whole day I was out. So yeah, Ryan, it's very probable. Like I said, we're getting anywhere from 47 to 55 degrees out of Frankfurt right now. That's surface temperatures. I don't run a probe. I got other things more important to invest in first before I get a fish hawk. I usually do pretty good with the fishing anyways. I'm not going to say a fish hawk wouldn't improve my fishing, but I do pretty good. I got, I've put a lot of fish in the boat before I even owned a graph, so you learn to read certain things. I was taught old school by some old timers and that were fishing long before graphs. So there's little knickknacks like watching for the right amount of air bubbles to be catching your cable as you're trolling. Action in your rod tips when you're setting them out. Action in the lure when you're setting it out. How far the back of the ball is going. So, there's a heck of a current up here by Frankfurt that goes north to south. Usually I rack up about 6 when I'm right about 2.3 miles per hour, and that's about the time I'm smashing fish. It's just like a line of 6 going down, 5 or 6 of them, and it'll be about every 30 seconds or so you'll catch the air bubbles and they'll go down. So, and they look like fingers going down there. You want the air bubbles to stretch out about an inch long. And that seems to be about good. That's good for me, but I'm not out there trolling 2.5, 2.6 miles an hour. Some guys are doing that. I'm not. I try to average from 2.0 to 2.3. Very seldomly do I pick up my speed. If I know that that's what they want, if I'm making a turn at 2.3 and my outside rod starts going off, well, then I know I need to bump it up a little bit. If my inside rod's going off, then I know I need to tap it down a little bit. There's telltale ways of doing things. Like I said, it's old school. I will invest in a fish hawk someday, but that day isn't right now. I need an autopilot first. And considering they're both about the same cost, I know what I'm getting first. Yeah, I gotta have priorities. If I had 2 or 3 people fishing with me all the time, autopilot would not be a priority. But considering that 99% of the time I'm going out by myself, autopilot's a high priority. Because there's days I can't go out because there's no way I can leave the helm and fight a fish without the boat going into a complete 360, just because of the waves and whatnot. And I just, like the other night, there's no way I could put lead out, and that's what I really needed to do. But because of the waves and everything else, until the very end, it was just too rough. I couldn't even put a dipsy out. The dipsy was just going off on me, so I ended up putting my fly down on my downrigger. Yeah, I could have set the tension a little tighter on the dipsy, but I like the tension where I got it right now, and I never have to yank back with any fish that gets on it. They always set it off. So the lake right now is throwing 8 and 9 foot waves out there. That's what it looked like when I stopped by after work tonight. White caps. It's pretty nasty out there. Like I said, it's supposed to lay down tomorrow. Start laying down around 1 in the afternoon, and we'll see what happens. We'll have I think it was 0 miles per hour wind by like 7:30ish, 8 o'clock area. Now that was a report as of 2 hours ago, so we'll see. Everything's subject to change. Like last Saturday, it was supposed to be dead calm in the morning, and then supposed to pick up, and sometime in the middle of the night the forecast changed, and when we started to go out, I could just tell driving that it wasn't going to work, and I started hitting 2-footers, and I hadn't even entered the canal yet. The wind was coming right out of the west Saturday in the first thing in the morning, and like I said, I hadn't even entered the canal yet, and then you go in between the pier heads from the canal and then out to the lake, and I just turned around and no, I'm not playing that game. And then, we sat in the boat talking for a little while, and about 8 o'clock almost every boat was already in. The one boat docks in front of me at the next marina, and we're watching. Never seen no fish come off that boat, but 2 garbage cans getting rinsed in the lake kind of tells the story. And then one of the charter captains I know, he only does 8-hour charters and only does 1 a day. He will not do 2 a day. He was at his dock at 8 o'clock. So I don't know if he called it or if his people got sick. Knowing him, he probably called it for safety reasons, as did most of the charter captains out there in Lake Michigan. I guess the 4-footers went to 6s, and it just got really nasty Saturday. Yep, sure was, Sue. And that's a good sized boat. It's like a 35-footer with a 13-foot beam. Yeah, they didn't look they looked pretty green when they got out of the boat. So we decided that we did the right thing by not going out Saturday morning. So, but by the evening it was decent out there. 3-footers, and we went out there and we had some real good luck. I think we were trolling 25 minutes when the first fish got on. So we did pretty good. We did a lot better than a lot of other people did anyways. I had 2 guys tell me when we came in to clean fish that we were the only ones out on the lake that caught anything, and I knew that wasn't the case because we seen other boats catching fish. And then one of the guys came in just after us, and he had probably double what we had, if not more, in his cooler. But he's a charter boat dragging 12, 14 rods, where we were out there with 6. So they had double the chance at least to catch what we caught. So, but I was happy with how we did, and I know Bill was happy. He got to fight a lot of fish. And if you're looking to fish Platte Bay, East or West Bay out of the Platte River, I would say go for it. That those fish should be stacked in there right now. I've had some reports of fish running up and down the Platte River, so that would mean that they're in East Bay and West Bay both. And get out there with them small boats on the good weather days. And the wind that we got right now wouldn't affect West Bay. It would affect, or no, it would affect West Bay. It wouldn't affect East Bay. East Bay is the one that's north of the river. That would be fishable in most of the weather that we've had this week. And if you don't want to go through the hassle of running your boat down the river to see, you can stop at the boat launch and you can see if it's wavy. You can also walk down the river mouth. It's only about 100 yards. And see what it actually looks like coming up on shore. Or if you want to do one better, if you're coming in off Deadstream Road and you get to 22 at the stop sign there, and you look slightly to the right on the other side of the road, there's a 2-track that goes back through the woods. That'll take you back out right dead smack in front of East Bay. There's a public access site there. There is no boat launch. However, if you got kayaks or a canoe, not a problem. You can carry them over the hill and or over the little dune and right down into the water. It wouldn't be an issue. And you can see what the actual waves look like there, but it pretty much took wind dead out of the west or the southwest to keep me from fishing that bay with a 14-foot aluminum boat, because the bay comes around and it's more on that northern corner, and then it kind of sweeps over up to Empire and Empire Point, and then around there, you know, you get the dunes and stuff, the Sleeping Bear Dunes. That bay is pretty sheltered from any kind of wind coming out of the north, be it northwest, north. Like I said, it's got to come directly out of the west or the southwest. Southwest will get you too. We get very little southwest wind this time of year, though. Empire Beach. Go through town and go out to the beach, and there's a launch out there, but it doesn't have a dock. The last time I was there, they got Bar Lake on one side that has a launch, and then down at the end there's like a lighthouse down there that's privately owned at the end of the park, and you can back your car right down into Platte Bay, or back your boat right down into Platte Bay. By the amount that come out of that trash can, Sue, I would say yes, worse than you that time on my boat. And then from that point in Empire at the boat launch, it's just going to be a short ride southeast, more east than south, to get into West Bay. And you'll probably see people in boats there, because there's a lot of guys that go over there from Frankfort. I do it once in a blue moon. I don't like dealing with the rocks, but if you come out of Frankfort the way I was told to go in, and my Penyan's real forgiving when it comes to shallow water, so don't take this as gospel on how to get in, but they told me if I line up with basically where the river mouth is and head straight in, which would be, you want to be due west of it and head due east, that I'd be fine. And I ran that from up on the bridge, not a problem. And I did come out after dark, but I came from the bay. I had a due west until I broke Betsy Point, where I could see the lighthouse, due south of me, and then I angled out and got about 3/4 of a mile offshore and ran down to Frankfort and had no problems. I didn't even graph any rocks in that section, but I ain't been in there enough to tell you that there ain't no rocks in there. But I know if you get south of that straight line from the river, there is some big rocks in there. I've cut across it a couple times during daylight hours, and from the bridge I can see the rocks, but I also veer off to the side of them, even though there's a lot of them are 10, 12, 14 foot down. I don't take any chances. That water's so clear, it's hard for me to judge how high they're coming up. But my boat drafts maybe a foot of water from the lowest point where the props would spin, so I don't have to have a lot of water to run. I get up by Manitou Island, and I get just a couple of feet offshore and run the shoreline looking for my fire pit to cook my dinner. And there ain't no way you're getting in there with a regular inboard or IO where I'm running at. Because like I said, I love that Penyan. I had people tell me, oh, tunnel drives suck. They're not fast, they're not this, they're not that. If you watch the video I posted last night, I got plenty of takeoff. That thing trolls like nobody's business. I can troll it down to 450 RPM. It sounds a little goofy at 450, but at 500 RPM she's pretty smooth, and at 500 RPM it's 1.2 miles per hour. So I very seldomly have to troll that slow, but she'll do it. The only drawback to that tunnel drive is going in reverse. There is no turning it in reverse. What you have to do is you go in reverse, and if you're going to be like pulling out of a slip and you want to turn to your port side, you turn your wheel all the way to port as you're backing up, and you get going in reverse where you got a little momentum, and bump the forward gear, put it in neutral, bump the forward gear, then back into reverse, and it starts kicking that back end around for you. Or you can do like I used to do when I first bought the boat. I back out and come to a stop and just turn the wheel, pop it into forward gear, and she actually turns in place, and then I can go. But that's a little more time consuming than just bumping forward and back into reverse. I used to do the same thing when I first started docking the boat. I'd pull up next to it and come to a stop, and then just turn and then go straight in. Now I just turn into the slip. Once in a blue moon, I lightly bump the dock with my bow rail, but more often than not, I just pull right in there. Sue's been out with me enough, even on windy days. She knows how that boat docks. It docks really nice. And then it looks funny, throwing that little rooster tail up when you're driving, but I don't care about that because I'm looking forward to where I'm going fishing. And then I can run up to Manitou Island and back. I can fish for a total of 7 hours trolling, put it at the dock twice, and then go out and run all the way down to Onekama before I got to switch over to my second fuel tank. And each tank is 33 gallons. So the fuel economy on that boat is excellent as well. Now, I do have oversized trim tabs on it. And that does make a difference. But it's still a sweet boat. It is made for fishing, and it is very good at fishing. The one drawback to it with the height of that boat is it does catch the wind, and with it not having a deep draft, the wind can play with you a little bit. If I'm trying to troll my north and south run and I've got 15-mile-an-hour winds coming out of the west, it's drifting me to the side a little bit as I'm trolling. That's one drawback of it. But my friend of mine and my boss, he has a 27-foot Sea Ray, and his drift's the same. And he's got twins in his. His boat's twice as heavy as mine. And he definitely drafts a lot more water than I do. It's a 27-foot Sea Ray Amberjack. And the only other place marked to launch your boat would be in Frankfort, other than at Empire. I don't know if the state park there outside of Glen Haven has a boat launch or not. And that would be straight across from Manitou Island, so you'd have to come around. But there's a lot of rocks in that little harbor there by Glen Haven as well. I mean, they used to bring in fishing boats there, so I'm sure it's doable. But like I said, I don't know if they got a boat launch. I'll have to get up there one weekend and go in there and tour the state park. I usually like doing that anyways, and that's the one state park I have not been into yet. Other than that, I think the next boat launch would be up in Leland, and that you might as well launch in Frankfort if you're going to do that, because Leland's a whole lot farther away. Yep, no problem. Sorry I don't have more info for you. Now, they don't dredge the mouth of the Platte River anymore, so I don't know if anybody's gone down there and illegally dug it out like they did last year, but expect to have to drag across a little bit of a sandbar because the swimmers that hang out down there, they will not move out of your way. And what shocks me is the amount of parents that let these little tiny kids play in the river when there's a boat coming by. It just boggles my mind that they are so stupid to leave their kid that close to a boat with a propeller on it. Because that river's only 65 foot wide and a strong current. How big a boat you got, Mark? $21. You could probably fish inside of Betsy Lake and troll up the canal out toward the pier heads and then come back if it's too rough out on the main lake. You'll catch fish there too. There was quite a few of them in there on Saturday and Tuesday. Hell, they've been in that lake since July, hanging out. And what you do, depending on if you're launching at the city launch there in Frankfort, you're going to come out, and as soon as you start hitting 23 to 26 feet of water, go ahead and start setting your lines. It won't be long as you're headed toward the canal up by the Coast Guard station and that. It won't be long until you hit 36 feet of water, and you'll start seeing those fish if you got your graph on stacked up, and they like to hang out around 27 feet. They've got it marked now with 4 can piers, 2 on each side, 2 red, 2 green. And the jiggers are not supposed to be in the middle there, so the guys jigging shouldn't be in your way. And you'll be able to go right up and out and then turn right around and come back. And if you stay to the middle of the canal, it's about 28 to 30 feet deep. Oh, really? I'll tell you what, he was, a lot of people got a laugh out of him on the radio Tuesday. Laying down in a rubber raft. Was it Intech or something? Same company that makes air mattresses. There was even some pictures posted of him on Facebook that I seen come through this week. The guy that really took the cake for me, though, was a guy standing up on a paddleboard. Had a hole in the back of his paddleboard that he had his rod sitting in, and he's paddling away out there by the pier heads. That to me was just hysterical. And, only in Frankfort when the salmon are in do you see that. But, whatever it takes. But, damn, it was awful dark. He shouldn't have been out there. Yeah, he probably would have been better off out of Arcadia that night, too, because the herring hole did real good that night. The guys down there. And there wasn't that many boats down there. But when the fish started biting it right at dark, a couple of guys I know, they put 9 in the boat real fast. Having doubles and triples on. But depending on the weather, if anybody's up in the Frankfort area and wants to get out fishing, let me know. I'm always looking to take someone out. I know I won't be out there Saturday morning, but Saturday afternoon or evening trip is still up in the air. And then Sunday evening as well. Just be careful when you're on your way home too. Bill came up, and he was a few minutes behind me, and he got plowed into by a drunk driver in front of Bacon there on 31, and got his truck totaled out for him. I ended up giving him a ride home that night. You gotta watch these Benzie County people. I mean, they can't drive when they haven't been drinking, and then add a few drinks into it, and it's real bad. The only county I've ever been in where I'm driving at night and you see a car, you're coming down a hill, you see a car, half, 3/4 of a mile up, pull up to a stoplight, and you can see their headlights and everything. They're just sitting there and they're waiting for you, and you get 150 feet away and they'll whip out in front of you and do 20 miles an hour. And it's not a once in a blue moon thing in this county. It is weekly. Yeah, he got bruised up, but he's okay. His back bumper's right up to the cab of his truck, though. If the guy would have hit me in my car, I'd be dead. Absolutely no doubt about it. The way he drove through that pickup truck, he'd have drove through my reel like it wasn't even there. Okay. Sounds good, Greg. And what I'll do is, if I get out tomorrow night and get out Saturday night, actually I'll do it tomorrow night too. If I do okay or hear of any good reports, I'll jump on and do a quick live fishing report. And even if you're not online, you'll be able to catch the replay of it. And because it seems like there's quite a few people coming up to Frankfort this weekend. Yeah, trucks can definitely take a lot more than my little car can. Yeah, I don't wish anybody's car to get totaled out, but if one of us had to get hit by that guy, I'm glad it was him and not me. Like I said, they'd have been pulling me out of my radiator probably, the way he drove through that truck. Of course, he hit it with another truck. Nobody got hurt, surprisingly. The guy pushed the truck 210 feet, and my friend was at a 35 mile an hour roll. So the guy in the pickup truck that hit him had to be doing right around 80. But yeah, the whole road was a mess with glass, and it was not pretty. So I ended up getting home after I drove him to Harrison. I ended up getting home about 4 o'clock in the morning. So I was pretty dead. Yeah, very lucky. I'm sure he didn't feel that way though, because he lost his truck. But so many people could have gotten hurt so bad from that accident. Them trucks were just mashed right up. It was basically 2 trucks became one. It became an 8-wheeled truck. They were just mashed right together. So anyways, if you're driving in Benzie County, watch your rear view mirror too. You never know who's coming up behind you and what's going to happen. He did say he seen the guy flying up on him and braced for impact, but he had nowhere to go. He couldn't accelerate because the people in front of him were doing 35, and it is a 45 mile an hour zone there. And I guess after the accident, the people slowed down and then took off. They didn't want to be in no part of it. So Greg, if you got any chrome with blue striped J plugs in like 3 or 4 inch category, you might want to drag one out there on like a 8 color. If you're out farther, if you're in close, I had a buddy Tuesday night. They were catching them on 1 color lead. So, but the blue and chrome seems to be a pretty good color out there. And then glows are definitely going to work because of the way the fish are biting. Alright, well, I guess I will call this a night, and everybody tight lines and stay safe out there, and hopefully the weather lays down so that everybody can get fishing. And hopefully I'll have a report for everybody tomorrow night and Saturday night. So please smash the like on your way out, and if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. Alright, thank you for watching Call of the Wild Outdoors.